am I still nervous? I've done so many of these things. Like, I should be nervous. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hi guys, this is Holistic Health with Harry and Therapy+Her talk show. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Brittny Love. Hello, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful this day. I'm so happy that you came onto my Facebook recently. I haven't known about you, and yeah, I've just seen you liking, commenting on my posts, and then we found out you did urine therapy, and you wrote a book called, is it Diary of a Starseed, you said?
That's correct. There's part 1 and part 2 available now.
Cool.
So that's at starseedstory.com if anyone wants to check that out, and we can talk more about it.
Awesome. And I guess if they search your name too, your full name, Brittny Love, or is it under the Brittny Love? Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So we definitely want to talk about that. But first things first, so people get to know you a little bit, even myself, let's get to know each other here and ask you that general, I know it's a really annoying question. I'm not going to say what is your story, because that annoys people. That's just like too general. I mean, like, in a way, how did you end up in the position you're in now of writing a book and going on this journey of transformation in physical, emotional, spiritual health? So where do you start? How?
Yeah, I love your question because I think it's such a powerful time for everyone to be alive right now. And there's a lot of concerning things happening. And I think that's what started my journey is, was raised in a pretty atheist home, kind of made fun of people who cared about the environment, all sorts of things. And I felt really lost. And through college and stuff, I started to kind of wake up to a lot of the corruption in life and how our food, like, it was really surprising to me, like, how our food was so messed with, and so much of our, basically, like, with mind control and just seeing weird things in the world. And it was really, like, confusing to me. I was like, why are the governments and all of this, so strange, and what's really happening? And I think that woke me up to our spiritual knowing and tuning into, like, well, who we really are as spiritual beings and how powerful we really are and how much they try to suppress that. So what our story covers is kind of starting out feeling really lost and confused, not understanding why the world is so dark, why everything is so in so much madness, basically. And we'll get more into the urine therapy and everything, but I met a partner who was from England as well.
Is he really? Oh, that's a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. So whereabouts in England is he from? Just be nosy now.
He was kind of near Manchester, and we were both kind of going through spiritual awakenings at the same time. I kept seeing him talk about all sorts of things on Facebook as well that I was interested in. So we linked up and we started talking right away. And, he came out to the US to be with me, and we basically sold everything off and we went and lived out in nature. And that really, we started practicing meditation. We started studying astrology. We started paying attention to our bodies and what they really need, and being open-minded. And that really grounded me out and gave me a lot of clarity and understanding. So that's what the book's cover is, kind of going from really lost to tuning back into nature, healing ourselves. And then the second book covers us traveling to different eco-villages and places around the world, because I spent so much time alone in nature and tuned in with myself. And I'm like, okay, this is great and everything, but I'm like, what's the world really doing? What people are out there that are actually making changes? What people are coming together? And that's where I discovered eco-villages and people who are doing things in new ways and coming together in community all around the world.
Cool. So just to sum it a little bit, so part 1, I'm not sure if that's right. Part 1 is more, part 2 is an autobiography of what you were doing. Part 1 is more of your awakening journey at the beginning. Is that correct? So part 1 is the beginning of the journey, and part 2 is more like the eco-villages. You dug deeper into the spiritual journey and what you did. Like, is it autobiography and information? What kind of style have you written it in?
So it's kind of like in a journal style. And it just goes along with our travels. It covers my pregnancy, doing a home birth. Yeah, it's a really special series. It's honest, and I think it can help people have a little bit more faith and maybe motivate others, because we really need to be the change in these times. We can't just sit back and do nothing, and we can't just sit back and expect something to happen. We have to be the ones to implement how we want our world to be.
I like that. And you've written almost like a book, to me, is the best version of yourself at the time, where you've really taken time to think of all the amazing things you've done and put it into a condensed format. So the fact that you've written into a book I am greatly appreciative. I'm going to buy it at some point. I can't wait to promote it myself and read it.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's just brilliant.
I would love to hear your feedback on that.
I mean, I love reading books, and I love reading. I know your book's going to be good. And also I love interviewing you too, because I'll get a sense now of the depth of your personality, which often doesn't come across, if I'm being honest, with a lot of people on Facebook. Not that they aren't deep, and not that I'm not deep, but I mean, if you don't see people on video and we don't have these connections and talk about stories, it's hard to realize the depth of a person. It's not a superficial medium, but it can be if you don't get caught up with the trap. Sometimes get caught up in that trap of leader follower, and that's just, this is why I love these interviews. And so thank you for,
I love Facebook and stuff for that. We can connect and share information, but I also long for so much more like human connection. So
I'm grateful. It's all about human connection, mate. I love it. You are actually taking action and living your dream, and it's actually a really good story. So your partner came out to you. You ended up together from Facebook, which is interesting. Yeah. People diss Facebook and say it's a bad medium, and you're saying you had a relationship with somebody that is now the father of your children, who also off air you said gave you urine therapy too. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I was someone we were camped out. I was probably about 7 months pregnant at the time. And we started to watch documentaries by like Andrew Norton Weber and other ones speaking about urine therapy. And I was a little like, what? And my partner at the time, he was so brave. He watched like 3 documentaries and he was like, all right, I'm going to go for it. And I remember he just tried it right away. And he was a really big smoker at the time. And so for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, I observed him start doing urine therapy every day. And during that time, he was able to quit cigarettes. He was super calm. And eventually I was like, just watching all of the benefits that he had, I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. And I was so nervous. And he was just like, all right, get on with it. You're going to be fine, And it wasn't what I expected at all. And it right away, I, just noticed so many benefits from an anti-anxiety feeling,
Oh, right. Really. So you were, because with me, I had depression. I didn't even realize I had depression. I removed it. So you're saying you were kind of anxious. Were you aware of your anxiety and it removed it? Or you weren't aware of your anxiety and it removed it?
I think so. Yeah. I tend to worry a lot or feel anxious. And I noticed right away that when I started to practice urine therapy, that calms that. You just kind of, I also noticed that like your voice changes, like it almost feels like you just get more in harmony. Like, I don't know, you speak with more power, you get more mental clarity. I also noticed like when I first started, it's not to be like too much information, but just like bowel movements just really cleared out right away. Like it really helped just clear everything out. Like sinus got better. Yeah.
Yep.
Telephone.
1 second.
No worries.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So you said bowel movements and what else was it? Sinus problems coming out. Sinus mucus coming out of your nose?
But just, dealing with like sinus stuff, allergies, I noticed that when I started urine therapy that cleared up right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also amazed me because I was pregnant at the time too. And I learned that, when our babies are in the womb, the whole time they're just continually cycling their urine.
Yes. Yes, you learned that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's funny too, because some people get, grossed out about it. But when you think about it, like, what about all the things that humans do sexually that we don't like raise eyebrows at? You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. And everything with the reproductive organs is sterile. And if you have a clean diet and drink a lot of water, it's not what you think, And honestly, I want to cover something too, because my partner and I did split up. My son is 6 years old now. And for the past couple years, I have gone through a lot of emotional trauma with some things. And I stepped away from urine therapy because I started drinking a lot of coffee and I started to drink alcohol again. And that completely changes your urine. It makes you really, it was just like, And so now I've dealt with some health ailments. I got ovarian cysts. I had a bit of a candida rash thing that I'm going through right now. So this past week or so, I've re-implemented urine therapy. And right away, like the rash is cleared up. My ovarian cyst pain has almost completely alleviated. So I do always fall back on it. It's something.
Are you saying you're not perfect here? Are you confessing to the fact that? Are you confessing to the fact you're not a perfect human being yet?
Right, I'm not a perfect human being whatsoever.
Damn.
But it's a special tool that we can utilize and have, and that we should. It doesn't mean that you always have to do it every day forever, but it is something really powerful, and it will bring you back into balance.
Absolutely. And I don't believe it's an accident that you came up on my post for the cast. Maybe we were friends before, but I didn't see you coming up my post like a few weeks ago. And obviously that must have been because you were thinking about urine therapy perhaps again. Maybe you found
Right.
it as that. And then it's like, event that maybe helped you, me and some other people helped you probably to get, because you knew it was your destiny to get back on it. Because it was your time to clear up maybe the coffee, not that you're stop doing it. But I mean, it doesn't,
right.
I hear what you're saying too. Those things aren't ideal, but sometimes it's okay to do them with that. I mean, obviously it's going to affect the quality of the urine, but it's still okay to do these bad things. And even diet wise, you don't need to be perfect too, and still take them. As long as you're doing the urine, you'll be okay. But it's just the smell, I guess, the taste on coffee and alcohol and bad foods and eating too much is probably
No.
Mm.
But they do say it is like the most powerful and potent to just do it first thing in the morning. In the past few days, I've done that again. Like right when I wake up, I'll have some, and you feel really energized and calm and clear-minded. This whole past week, I've given up coffee, and I haven't had headaches. I don't have anything weird. I almost got a coffee today before our interview when I dropped my son off from school. But I turned around and the coffee drive-through was way long, and I was like, I don't need to do that, and I don't need to it was normally there's no cars there ever, and this time it was full, and I just felt like spirit being you don't need
this is a really important topic. It's almost not even joking aside, the perfect thing. It's slow improvements for everyone. So if you have coffee in your life, then it's not like tomorrow I'm going to change into it's coffee free all of a sudden. Sometimes it can happen like that. Sometimes change can happen very quickly, or the most likely thing for us as humans is let's try a little bit better each day, and let's get to a point of, even like you said, maybe there's periods of your life when you weren't completely alcohol and coffee free, but then you kind of stopped and then you relapse. And I do that too. I'll go back to things, and then I'll come back to the right lesson, and I'll get a little bit better and a little bit better. And it's just a slow journey, but it's a fun journey to learn for sure.
So what are some of the benefits that you have experienced with urine therapy? And I haven't done too much with the aged urine, so I'm not.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic, and I'm sure people will get on that. Yeah, that's a crazy one, which you'll get to, and it's in your own time, but definitely more powerful. But for me, that's what it's kind of what woke me up to my obsession with physical health mastery and raising my vibration. Because urine therapy, like yourself, when I first did it, I read Martha Christie's book, Your Own Perfect Medicine. I've always been open-minded. That's probably the key asset here. If you're closed-minded, God help you, you won't get even bother. But I read Martha Christie's Your Own Perfect Medicine, and I was convinced to try it, and it would work too. And that's not placebo working. I was convinced it was going to work. I took the first morning, removed the depression, which by then, this was 3 years ago, I thought I got rid of, but clearly I hadn't. So it removed that, and then I got excited because it's free. And then I just started with the first of the mornings, and then I started doing more than just the first of the mornings. And then I went on Facebook and added, in my excitement, I wanted to reach out to people because obviously no one around me was doing it. So I wanted to reach out and see if there was any urine therapy groups. So I typed in urine therapy and added myself to groups 3 years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
And my life has never been the same since I did start Urine, and since I went on Facebook and added myself and started to become friends and ask questions and watch other people. And then I learned about aged urine a couple of months later, and that was the biggest shock, because I thought, okay, fresh urine is amazing. I make it for free. My life's changed. And I'm like, oh my God, my life might change again. Now there's another one.
Well, good job being brave, because it is nerve-wracking to step out. But I feel like this information is so important to share, because doesn't it just make sense that as divine beings, we would truly come into this world with everything that we need? And you are, there's that show, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's the show Naked and Afraid.
No, haven't seen that. Is that a good one? What is that, a network of Amazon Prime?
It's a show on television here, but basically a male and a female partner will meet up in some part of the world. They don't know who they are, and they're completely naked, and they have to survive for I think it's 29 days or something out in the wild. And a lot of them have to tap out because they can't even find water or whatever. And I'm like, man, they wouldn't even air my episode, because I would just start urine therapy right away and be thriving. But it's just in emergency situations, there's so many amazing stories out there too, where, I've read stories where soldiers were stuck on an island or something happened and they had to revert to drinking their own urine. And not only did they find that it hydrated them, but it healed their infections, things like that. There was one mom who her daughter kept having chronic ear infections and nothing, was remedying it. And she remembered her grandma saying, about urine therapy a long time ago. So she put some of her daughter's urine in her ear, healed it right away. There's so many stories like that where people have debilitating things and nothing else is working until they do that.
Crazy. And like you said, it's almost like, I love the idea and mindset, and I'm sure you do too. You've already said it, that the idea that we are all that we need and nothing outside of us can really make us happy. Yes, we live in duality. Yes, there's materialism. Yes, the world's a lot different to how our ancestors lived it. But I'll tell you what, health and happiness wise, the more that we grow and vibrate high, and the more we seek it, the more we realize that our own medicine, our own happiness and meditation teaches us it, and urine therapy and all these things, and fasting, like everything that we need is free, cheap, and just lies within us and not outside and external. And for that reason, I love breatharianism, even though that might not be true. I'm open-minded to it. And I definitely love urine therapy. And I definitely know that our own perfect medicine is perfect. And even there's the fresh urine in terms of, if you think about it, just even like, say there's diseases going off me and you right now that the body's trying to fight, like cancer every day apparently. Well, if we take the urine, it's like an autoimmune vaccine, isn't it? We know that vaccines are really bad, like actual vaccines, but urine therapy, even just one angle, there's so many angles, look at it, but one angle of urine therapy, fresh urine, is, hey, it's literally the ultimate vaccine. Literally is the best.
Now, I do have one question though. Like there was a woman in England, and I forget her name, but she was a big, urine therapy advocate. But I think I read a story recently where she like died of lung cancer.
Heard of it? And so, Sylvia Chandler.
Yeah, do you know about that? What do you think could have happened with that? And like,
yeah, I mean, I heard of her because she was one that I got into with. I first watched video-wise Andrew Norton Webber with Elise Harrison, which is a really good interview. I love Andrew Norton Webber stuff. Then I watched Sylvia Chandler, who's the lady you're talking about. What do I think about it? I think she did smoke. That's true. I think that she was doing urine therapy, and I think it helped. I don't think she was doing enough urine therapy. And also, I don't think she was, not that urine therapy is not powerful, but I think she wasn't intermittent fasting, and she was doing, I don't know. It's
interesting because there has to be all these different kind of key components that come together. Like, you know what I mean?
It is a saving grace, but I mean, she maybe even emotionally healthy wise, who knows about her emotional health? Who knows how much she might have known about power of urine therapy. What if you're doing like a homeopathic dose every day when you're smoking? It might help, but it's not going to, it's still going to, there's a balance, and she got the balance clearly wrong, and she wasn't doing enough of the urine therapy, and she was doing way too much of the bad stuff. Therefore, she got the cancer, and I don't know.
It's interesting to talk about that. So I wanted.
Definitely. On that as well, I think I'm blessed to have watched, I know you've watched a lot of Andrew Norton Webber's videos. He's one of the legends that we don't know where he is now, but my God, that guy made the connection between, for me, he's the first person to make the connection that made it famous between urine and distilled water being the same thing. And that is crazy.
Have you heard the phrase too as well that's like urine therapy?
Oh, I like that. No, I'm hearing it now.
I like that too. Someone pointed that out one time and I was like, oh, I love that.
It's good. I love the puns. I love the happy people, little puns that people come up with in the community. Like the happy and people. And have you heard the term Urine? And there's little words that we use in a community.
Okay.
Urine's one of them. Urine is our urine. There's little things that because we don't want to take back our power. People see it as a negative. So we use different words sometimes to really make it love. Shivambu too. You heard of Shivambu?
I haven't heard that one. Nope.
Okay. Shivambu's an old-fashioned term because it was in the Dharma Tantra or something. So there's lots of cutesy, and there's another one, Amarelli. That's another yoga term.
Well, did I mute us? No, I didn't. Okay. Well, it's interesting too because like what is it? Andrew Norton Webber talks about how urine is in so many medications and things as well already, and people don't even realize that.
We'll talk about that a little bit. What medications are they in, that you know of?
I believe there's some in like eye medication. They use like horse urine for eye medicine, and supposedly there was this thing as well where there was collections from urinals, like it went off to the set so it could be collected or whatever and sold. So people didn't.
Porta Johns maybe still do it, I think. They sell the urine. I can't remember what they do with it, but they make a lot of money out of it, and that makes sense to us, right? Because that's medicine.
And it is interesting too, like if you start in the morning with looping urine throughout the day, you'll notice that your urine just gets more and more pure, to the end of it, later on your urine is basically completely clear. So it's crazy how it just completely purifies itself.
All right. So you've done looping in the past, quite a lot of quantities
Yeah.
of urine. Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like compared to small amounts? Is there a difference to you in looping versus?
Yeah, I do feel like if you loop throughout the day, you just feel really calm. Your mood is relaxed. You notice like your urine will just keep getting clearer and clearer, and more purified. So I feel like that really tells a lot. I'm really excited to be getting back on this because I had a lot of scary health things happen over the past couple of years, and if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. And
Too right. Do you notice your vibration changes? You get much happier and healthier, even though we already are, I guess, to a point, like we're already on our path. But yeah, do you notice that shift in consciousness?
Yes, definitely. And it's interesting too, like whenever I've gone to a doctor or something and they try to give you a medicine or whatever, and none of that stuff ever works. The only thing that ever works is, like, for me personally, is like getting back on herbal remedies, urine therapy, different things. It's like you can maybe get a diagnosis or something, but none of their treatments have ever worked. It's always been going back to the natural roots and what we can do for ourselves.
Oh, there we go. And you use natural roots. It's like they don't tackle the root cause of disease. They're always tackling the surface and causing problems. I really believe the pharma drugs are putting toxins in our body or some masking the symptoms, and that's going to cause massive problems to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. I'm going to ask you, let's get off talking about urine therapy a little bit. Let's talk about your event. I really want to know myself, for your adventures with your partner on the eco villages. What made you interested in that stuff? Can you talk a little bit about what you did there and what you learned, and share with us what you learned about eco?
So in the second book, we'd actually split up. He left back for England when my son was 3 months old. And my soul just really craved to meet people that were doing interesting things. And so I started off with like woofing. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Isn't that where you share a farm, or you go to a farm that's really wants people to? Yeah.
Exactly. So in my first book, I was like, I feel really called to get to Kauai, which is an island on Hawaii. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there yet or how it's going to all play out. But I just really feel called to go to Kauai. And this woman who read my book reached out to me and she said, I know these really amazing people there. They're starting a farm. You should maybe go out and work with them or see if you can go there. So that was one of the first places that me and my son went. And it was really awesome. It was basically this guy had bought some land because he wants his sons to inherit a farm one day. But there was just a group of young people. There was probably about 10 or 15 of us who all lived there. And we all were learning how to like grow food organically. And it was really special because we'd have morning check-ins with each other. And
is it free as well, the woofing? Was it free for you?
Yeah, it is. So it's a really special way I think it's really important that people learn how to grow food, how to rebuild our soil. That's some of the things that I really cover in the book is learning how to develop the soil again. We've put so much toxic pesticides and everything that our soil is really depleted. So people also have no idea really how to grow their own food, and we're so dependent on these grocery stores, and the convenience of drive-throughs, but if all that stuff shut off, what would people really do? And so I think it's so important right now that we know how to grow food, that we know how to utilize our land and our resources. And
how can you give us any tips from that book that that could help us on how do we remineralize? I guess you're talking about remineralizing the soil and taking away the pesticides.
Yes. So if people know about composting, you can start composting your food, and it depends on like what region you live in. But there's things like you can do, like if you have a small backyard, you can like layer cardboard down and compost and start to build up your soil. And I'll have to see if we can share my YouTube link because I have a lot of interviews with.
Cool. Yeah. Tell us your YouTube channel so people can check out your YouTube stuff for sure.
Yep. So it's under Brittny Love, Brittny, and then Love. So you can find my channel that way. And I have lots of amazing interviews and sharing all the eco villages that we've been to on there. So if people want to check them out, it's really special and there's a lot of great information there.
Cool. So composting is one of them with cardboard and reminders. Is there any other tips? Composting, yeah, that's a good one. Is there any other one?
Yeah, composting would be good. I would be, oh gosh, what's my brain this morning? I think there's a really good book called Gaia's Garden. That's a really special book that provides a lot of information. And also it's just learning which region you're in. So depending on where you live on the planet, like in England, you could really grow some like blackberries, seeded grapes, strawberries, you know, depending on where you live. But I think it's really important. Even indoors, you can be growing like indoor sprouts. That's something my partner and I did, like wheatgrass, broccoli sprouts. You can just grow those in mason jars in little trays inside your house.
Okay,
And those are
cool. Oh,
packed full of nutrients, you
didn't
know,
even
and
know
you can
that.
just,
That's amazing. You can grow little
yeah,
herbs and plants in your house from mason jars, just from a
yeah,
mason jar. Wow.
yep.
Huh.
And yeah, and wheatgrass, all that stuff is so good for you. And it's really fun to just, you can grow it right inside.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
That's crazy. I'm thinking it's a plant too, so it will give you nice oxygen, negative ions, and make the air fresh and take away the toxins,
Yeah.
as well as growing you some good stuff that you can eat eventually. So that'd be good.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow! It sounds like you had a magical time. Hawaii is such a beautiful country. I've seen the pictures, and it's one of those places. Even pictures, they're amazing. They don't do justice to. I can imagine actually being there and seeing
Right.
that in the flesh. And being surrounded by such beauty and such purity in terms of the air too, surrounded by the sea, and that must be
Yeah,
fucking
Hawaii was super beautiful.
amazing.
There's actually a really special eco village, or it's not. I don't know if I want to call it an eco village because it's not fully like growing its own food or anything. But there's an awesome intentional community in Scotland called the Findhorn Foundation, and I've
Which one? The
spent
Food
quite
Corn Foundation, you say?
the Findhorn
Fintorn,
Foundation.
okay. Fintorn Foundation. Okay.
Findhorn, yeah. That's a really beautiful place. I highly recommend that you go up there sometime.
Mm.
But that's, oh gosh, this was a cool story. Let me tell you something with the Findhorn Foundation. So there was three friends back in the 60s, I believe. And there was a couple and their friend, I wish I remembered their names offhand. I think her name was Eileen. Anyways, they worked at this hotel and they ended up being fired. I don't know what happened, but they were fired and they were living in this caravan park. And they were trying to like feed their kids on food stamps and stuff. And it was really difficult. But Eileen, I guess, was doing like some meditations and spirit, whatever, told her how to plant the seeds and the food there. And it was like interesting because it was like sandy terrain and it's difficult. And so she listened to the messages that she received and they did it. And basically they grew like huge, like, I don't know, like 40-pound like cabbages and all sorts of things, like everything, just the way that she received from her meditations really made their gardens completely thrive and flourish. And eventually people started to come from all around the world to see how they were doing things. And eventually that caravan park developed into the Findhorn Foundation today. And it's an amazing, amazing place.
I love that story. So almost like it's like almost like little. How I look at it is like little people making massive change, inspiring people by what they were doing, and people and that grew into the foundational base it is now, where people like yourself are learning from it and growing. I guess it's much bigger than what it started out as. Now I'm guessing as a
Yeah,
foundation.
it's huge now. They have lots of musicians come, speakers come there. It's a really, really beautiful place, and I miss it. I feel like if all else fails for me here in America, I'm going to go live in Scotland.
I'll come see you up in Scotland. I've got friends in
Sounds
Scotland. That's why I
good.
wanted to know the name of the foundation. I'm actually thinking because
Yeah,
I don't know if you know this. Scotland's the one place where you can legally wild camp in England. I mean, I'll wild camp anywhere, but you can legally
right.
do it without getting in trouble. And I've got friends there, so I want to come up. And I'm definitely gonna. I want to
Oh,
become more eco a person, less materialistic, and that's my journey. But I'll do it slowly, like you said earlier. It's no rush for me. I need to
yeah,
dematerialize quite slow. But yeah, that stuff is something nature and hang around people like yourself is really important to becoming the best version of what you want to be. So I'll definitely look into the it's my country too, the UK. I feel bonded to it
yeah.
whilst I'm living here. So I would love to see and explore, UK, Scotland and all that stuff.
Well,
So
and it's interesting too because I mean, a lot of these eco villages are special in that people came together, they put their resources together to get land, and they, you know, and it's interesting because conflicts still do arise. Things, people have disagreements, things happen, but it's really interesting to see how they're able to navigate through it
yeah.
and how, you know, they're going to have to work together. But, you know, there's so many of us that live in cities and stuff already, and we all can't just go dip out and go
Mm.
live off land. So we need to learn how to do it here at home. And I feel like we need to like somehow bring people back together, you know, that's kind of,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I miss sort of the tribe life You know, we're all
I'm,
kind of
I'm,
all
I
alone
think
in
it's
our own little
beautiful what that is,
boxes.
and that represents. And I'm glad you said that. The idea that almost like we talked about earlier, no human's perfect. We used to condition to the city and town life and being around people we don't know. So there's always going to be ego and arguments, and even when we go and transition into those things. But what happens in those videos, like I said, is people because they're working on themselves and they want to become the best version of themselves. That's why they're there. They're going to work on art, work on healing relationships, work on bonding together, whereas in the city you could just run away from people. No offense, you don't like somebody, you never see them again. Same with Facebook, you can just block them. But when you're living with someone that you know you want to become a better person, you can grow because you can't run away from that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, man. Okay, so we go back to so you were living in eco village in Hawaii and composting and all that stuff. And did you stay in there, or I think you suggested earlier you might have moved to other places and tried other things,
Yeah.
or did
So, well, it was interesting on Kauai because one half of the island is all pesticides, the big farms, you know, the big industry farms and all of that. And then the other half of the island was like the organic farmers and everything. And it was really crazy at the time. A lot of the laws were passed. So like if your farm wasn't making X amount of dollars, you're not supposed to be able to live on your land. Like they put all these hard rules and stuff in place for people, like almost making it impossible for like independent organic farmers. So technically while we were there, we were like illegally camping on the land. But like it was just crazy, and like it's just a mad world, you know, sometimes. But yeah, basically after Hawaii, I came back to the States, and my son and I, we drove from Washington through New Mexico all the way up the East Coast, and we hit different eco villages along the way there. And so the second book covers all of those, and or my YouTube channel, I have videos on all of those
I'm
as well.
definitely I'm really curious. So you did this all by yourself as a single mom, taking your very young son around,
I
meeting
did.
new people in eco villages. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very brave. That's very brave.
Thank you. I know. I definitely felt like I was I use my intuition in everything that I do. And you know, if you had a bad feeling about something, you know, you listen to that. But yeah, it was really awesome. I camped out in the mountains, just the two of us together, you know. And sometimes I'd be like sleeping in a tent with my son, who was like 2 years old at the time, and I was like, he made me feel so brave. Like I felt like if my son wasn't with me, I wouldn't be brave enough to go sleep out, you know, and do that.
Yeah, it's almost like you were learning from him as much as looking after him, right? You were learning so much and being inspired.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I can ask, he's older now, right? You said 6 or something earlier off air?
Now.
So, okay, so do you homeschool? Obviously he wasn't in school then, right? So do you homeschool him now, or?
I was doing homeschooling at first. We recently, so I'd been traveling for the past 6 years all over the place.
Cool.
And we finally, we just moved to Flagstaff, Arizona. And what I like about Flagstaff is it reminds me of a lot of Scotland and England, but I'm close to family. But yeah, we were trying to homeschool, and I still might go back to that eventually. But as a writer, I just kind of needed my mommy time. And also he's such a social, he's a Leo. So he's very social and like loves his friends. And right now, school has been really good for him, and he enjoys his time there. And I enjoy like being able to do this interview with you right now, you know, so.
Sure. And he's still getting influence from his mum, and you're still going to have a massive impact in his life, even if school does teach some things we agree on that aren't very good, but then there's some useful stuff, like I said, like socializing and, you know.
I know, I'm kind of like come towards junior high or high school, I'm like, we'll definitely probably be homeschooling again. Like, I feel like these early ages are okay. And right now they're not doing forced vaccinations, thank God, here in Arizona. It's so bizarre to me, but if that were to ever be implemented here, I would definitely start homeschooling again, because I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, vaccinations are the absolute worst. I'll tell you a story about mine. So I'm short-sighted. Not wearing these because they're not sunglasses, guys. They're blue button glasses. But anyway, I'm short-sighted, and I've stopped wearing glasses since October. The reason why I'm short-sighted was I had perfect sight till the age of 13, and a mandatory vaccination at school called BCG in the UK came about. And get this, I didn't actually figure this out till recently. Okay, so I had the vaccination of BCG, and a couple of months afterwards, in April, March, and then in the summer, I went on holidays to Canada, and all of a sudden, I remember the moment when I started realizing I was short-sighted. I couldn't see in the car the car plates, and I told my dad. And then we got back from that holiday, I was 13, and I got my eyes tested and realized I was short-sighted. Now, is that a coincidence that in a couple of months after the vaccination, I became short-sighted, which, by the way, that was my 13, I'm 32 now, and I do a lot of health protocols, and I'm not saying it can't be fixed, but can you imagine how bad a vaccine is, that I'm doing like sun gazing, fasting for long periods of time, doing aged urine, I'm really working on grounding all the time, I'm doing loads of things for my health, but I still can't fix it because of one vaccination that's damaged my liver and my eyes. How crazy is that?
I know. That's so sad.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. And I think, I don't understand why people think vaccinations, I don't know, like I don't understand why people trust the government. Like if something, I don't know, if our governments are trying to like force something on us, I feel like you should definitely be like raise an eyebrow, because you know, so much of our food and everything, like everything else that they allow is so not healthy and so strange. So I have a one mother friend, her 2-year-old son had to go get the MMR vaccine. So in California, they recently changed the laws where if you're going to school, you have to have all mandatory vaccinations. And so she gave her son the MMR vaccine, and it was like that night or the next day, he completely shut down, went from like being so communicative, eye contact, playful, just a happy little boy, to completely like nonverbal, now no longer making eye contact, super strange behaviors, you know. I also know a few other mothers that like their child died of SIDS, you know, shortly after getting their vaccinations, and it's so sad. And I think today, in today's world, I think people think maybe vaccinations did have a time and place in history, you know, when we didn't have good water or nutrition or better sanitary things. But in today's world, it's mostly because we have good water and we have, you know, better sanitary practices and, you know, better nutrition that, you know, build up your immune system, breastfeed our babies, things like that, you know, urine therapy.
Yeah, urine therapy, right? And like you said, I think the idea of it is sound. Like there's a, you know, there's a disease, so you want to put little bits of that disease back in, of the dead disease back in, so your body reboots. But then urine therapy does that, and I wonder myself. I think of the Black Death and all those people dying because of cholera back in the 1700s, 1800s. I wonder if they did urine therapy. Well, I already know the answer, but I wonder anyway. Like if they all did that instead of coming up with these mandatory vaccines which have other ingredients in them, which is the problem really, the other ingredients, then I wonder what would have happened. And surely it makes sense. I can't understand why people can't understand the logic behind your blood and your body is always trying to work for your benefit all the time. And your urine is just your blood. So your blood's trying your best, your body, and that's why urine works. And so you've got antibodies to the diseases you're fighting, to the vaccines you're so scared of. They're in the urine, so you can redouble up. It's like doubling up. It's like taking extra, because your body's already working hard. You can help your body out by taking that. Even homeopathic doses. I'm all for homeopathic doses of, I believe they work, of urine, and that doesn't taste of anything. So to my mind, it still confuses me when I think about it, that people don't understand the logic of urine therapy. Forget about the distilled water aspect, which we know is amazing. Forget about the nutrients, the hormones, the enzymes. How about just the vaccine element of that? Like if you've got cancer, your body's fighting it, you retake it. Yeah, like Sylvia Chandra, it might not cure it if you're not taking enough, but if you're always helping yourself with your urine. It's almost like it can't have a detrimental effect in my mind. It's one of those medicines that never can, but I don't know.
For me, like personally, I feel like if it was any way bad for me over the past 6 years, I would have had a negative effect. And I can honestly say that I have never had one negative thing from urine therapy whatsoever. Every part of it has been for the positive and helping. Like nothing has been, there's no side effects, bad ones at all.
I mean, apart from, this is a good transition to talk to actually, like, because I didn't tell you that I had major bowel movements when I started urine therapy too, but I knew because I was in the health community and Facebook, I recognized and I knew that was detox, and you did too. So actually, do you want to talk a little bit about detox reactions and what people can expect that's not actually bad, but they might think is bad? Like,
true. Okay. For me personally, with the bowel movements, it wasn't like anything uncomfortable. I was just like, wow, like a lot was released, which was good. I have known that some people get like a rash, or things like as your body's pushing,
even from drinking, or was it on the skin? You mean
drinking urine therapy? Yeah, I've heard people. Some people have gotten a rash, like when it's pushing things out. Other than that, I haven't had any I don't think I've had anything else. It's always, yeah, it's
It's always
always like
good.
really
And you
calm
know
down.
when you know that it's very powerful. And it is.
Yeah.
It changes your vibration, and it's just your body is the way I see it. Ultra filtered. You heard of that expression? Ultra filtered blood plasma is the medical definition of urine. I
Oh,
think
that's
actually,
cool. I
yeah,
didn't know
it
that.
literally is your blood. Your kidneys
Yeah.
go and filter your blood to an extreme level, and 90% of that goes back into the blood circulation as pure ultraviolet water, and the rest comes out as urine. And I think there is some argument that drugs do come out, by the way, in the urine, and heavy
Mhm.
metals when you fast and stuff.
That's true.
However, yeah, go
I
on.
have heard that like if you're on if you're on pharmaceuticals or something, you're not supposed to do
Mm,
urine therapy. I've also heard, I read in one book where you're supposed to like collect it midstream,
mm, I heard
but
that too.
I've whatever.
Yeah, I've always
It's
felt
been
that's a bit
fine.
dogmatic because I never did that when I first started, and I got loads of
I didn't
benefits from the
either.
first. Yeah, the midstream thing. I don't know.
There's
It's
in a book
yeah,
about that where you're not supposed to like collect the first part or the last part, but
yeah,
I don't know. I've never had any issues the
right.
past
Yeah.
several years
And
that
get
I've
this,
used
I'll tell you
it.
some information on the aged urine because I'm writing the aged urine sequel book. And one of the things
Awesome.
I've just written on, which is really key information for people on aged urine, which is really interesting, is that those heavy metals and toxins and pharmaceutical drugs that do come out in the fresh urine,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to sound crazy, when the urine ages 1 week, 2 weeks, I don't know why exactly, but it gets completely neutralized and
Oh, that's
negated.
cool.
So in other words, if you put
Yeah.
cyanide poison, if you put heavy dose of, if there's heavy dose of cadmium coming out in fresh, it just disappears. The aging process,
Mm.
for God knows why, and I don't believe it's an accident, by the way, but for God knows why,
Yeah.
it just neutralizes everything bad and just leaves the good stuff. And that makes it no excuse now for someone that's really ill, that's got a lot of toxic pee, to not do at least aged urine, if not fresh urine, because they're worried about the toxins. Mm.
Right, that's good to hear. And
Mm.
supposedly like supermodels and stuff, they wipe their urine on their face, like that's a model
Mate,
secret.
look at my
Yeah.
face.
I know. I do. I know. It's so good for you. What else was there? I will say though, I think if people don't change your diet, if you don't change your lifestyle, kind of
Mm.
like that Sylvia woman you mentioned,
Mm.
urine therapy is not going to work as well. It has to go hand in hand with um, taking better care of yourself.
Absolutely. Great
Otherwise, it's
point.
just going to
Yeah.
be doing a cycle. You can't just keep eating McDonald's and drinking urine therapy and think that's gonna.
Boom. Well said. And when we do it enough times, we get to a point where we raise our vibration, that we raise our stand of consciousness so much that we start
Right.
changing our value systems and our diet and stuff. We start going, okay, now I know that I'm at a very high level with urine therapy, but I'm still lacking in other areas. Now I can commit to raising my vibration in all areas. And and guess what? If you want to geek out,
Yeah.
that improves the urine quality, because guess what your urine is? Your urine contains your emotions and how you feel. Like if you're a happy person, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have good urine that's got loads of happy neurotransmitters, and it's got loads of happy stuff in it. So like it works in balance. Like as you raise your standard, become healthier and happier, your urine quality gets better, and therefore when it ages or even fresh urine, it just improves. And now you've got a loop cycle of, okay, now I'm growing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. My urine contains all that awesome information of who I am right now, which is awesome. And then you reloop and you keep growing, and your urine quality
Yep.
can go up indefinitely. So I look at it. Urine therapy goes up indefinitely. You can't. It's like, as you grow mentally and change your brain, you're also changing your urine. So now that urine is holding to a higher standard as it changes to such a happier vibration, and that's crazy, right?
What do you think about when people say like urine is a waste product, or like if our body needed it, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
pushing it out?
That's a very good question. It's a really weird synchro, because I was going to say earlier when you were talking about it, people
Yeah.
say this, and this is the absolute truth. I heard this from someone else and it resonates with me. So I tell people this a lot. Like, yes. Okay. So we talked about there is waste in the urine. Now, have you heard Dr. Morse, by the way?
Say that one more time.
Have you heard of Dr. Morse?
I have not.
Okay, so he's a fruitarian who's a very proficient teacher, and I love him to bits. And he teaches people about 100% fruit diet, and I agree that's a great food. It's going to detox people. But however, this man who's got a big following, he says that urine is 95% waste. So we're talking about people like that who say that it's 95% waste. Well, we know that it's mainly distilled water. So if you do a distilled water and you compare that with fresh urine, you're going to experience the same results. That's how I know it's distilled water. If we go beyond that, yes, there is toxins in the urine. But the way I look at it is, why am I experiencing so many benefits? And why did you experience so many benefits if it's toxic? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you're comparing 0.001% bad stuff with 99.9% good stuff. What's going to happen if you take something with 99.9% good stuff? You're going to feel 99.9% better.
Yes. And I have heard that when our urine is going through the body, it's like it's personalized DNA encoded message for yourself. And so as it's going through, each organ is communicating. And when it goes through your kidneys, it's, there's thousands of like distillers in there, and it's completely purifying. And when it comes out, it's a specific DNA encoded message for your body. And when you loop it back through, your body goes, okay, we need to push this out. We need to flush this out. We need to balance this. And as you keep doing it, your body keeps communicating with each other. And it gets, like I said before, like more and more purified as you continue to loop it. So your body's like communicating that way. And you'll notice that you'll start to like eliminate waste through your bowel movements and things like that, as your body gets, as it remedies itself. But yeah, I think that's interesting though, like how like people say, if it's a waste product, why is it coming out? And it's like, well, if you loop it back through, it's communicating with your body and it's purifying itself, and your waste is coming out in other ways as well.
That's super interesting. It's like the ultimate feedback loop. Your body's always trying to work in your favor. And if you retake it, you're giving the body information that's already processed, but now it's broken down those nutrients that are bioavailable. Yeah. Instead of creating new nutrients, which takes energy, now you've got the energy already in you that you're re-looping. So it doesn't have to take that energy and like a machine, almost, like you said. I love what you said there. It's like, okay, it reads the code and it says, okay, you're fighting this disease, go and attack you. These organs need this effort. And then you just, it's like a perfect loop cycle when you loop the urine.
Yes. I think that's cool to explain that. So it's kind of interesting right now. I don't want to get too excited but it's interesting. So we've been traveling so much. The second book, like I said, covers our eco villages, and my other main purpose, not only for sharing the information to the world about others, what others are doing, is for myself. My main ambition in life is to eventually get land and set up something where I can be working with kids and having a healing sanctuary where people can come learn how to grow food and ground out. But recently I got a new job where I'm helping this guy maintain his land, and he's got 3 cabins that he built himself, and he graduated in counseling. And I told him like my dream of wanting to have like a community or something where we can work with kids and grow food. And he was like, well, maybe we can do something like that here, because I don't know what to do with the rest of my land. So I'm just like, Venus just went into Pisces today. I don't know if you study astrology at all, but it's just like love feelings are coming out. I feel a lot more excited about life and really motivated and inspired right now. So
that's awesome. So synchronicity, you meet somebody that could change because your future is changing in this moment in time to something like where you closer to your alignment with your dreams.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see, to go from the first book of being completely lost in a really dark place to getting into spirituality, to practicing meditation, to really connecting with our earth, and then to branching out, meeting people, learning, discovering things, and then now being able to set a foundation here in Arizona, if that's what's meant to be, and see where we can grow from there.
I really look forward to maybe you coming out there. I mean, I always network with people because I never know. I like, first of all, I love to hear your stories, and I love to share information so that people can learn and I can learn because I get the front seat. But also beyond that, I love to network, and I don't know, I'm looking to branch out in business. Obviously, I'm very dedicated to the health community, but I'm also interested in eco villages, retreats, hosting them, making money so that I can carry on this lifestyle of helping people. So I don't know, I could end up either at your place or working with you guys, supporting you, whatever.
Yes, that'd be fantastic. I would love, I know I can't talk. We're recently been discussing like hosting retreats and stuff there. So if we ever want to like coordinate something, we'd definitely be interested. That's exciting.
Yeah. I feel like that's the future, and that's what we should work toward. I feel like there's a lot of division. At least I've seen a lot of division within the Facebook health community and disagreements on what's good for you, what's bad for you, against urine therapy, against diet. And I just want, my higher self wants to unite people just like you do. And so we can support each other and stop having this ego battle and realize that we're all doing this for the high good of everyone else around us, and keep spreading the message. And yes, it does take money. I mean, we have to make a living. It's not like we can give everything for free, because that's just not compatible. And exchange of energy in other ways is ideal, but in this day and age, I can't exactly.
I know.
Yeah, you do need money exchange, isn't it?
Yes, it can be used for good. Exactly. I have a friend, actually my good friend I met on Kauai. her stepdad was like a big oil tycoon, you know, and got all of his money through the oil industry. And he passed away and she inherited a bunch of that money. And now she's buying land and like making sanctuaries and doing healing retreats. And she's completely opposite from her stepdad. But I just think it's funny how life works and rebalances itself, you know, like a lot of money was maybe earned through something not so nice to the earth, but right now it's being utilized again to balance it. And I thought that was really
beautiful
cool
and very inspiring. People like that inspire me, and people like yourself, and hearing your stories inspires me to crack on with my own best version of me. So yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Before we go though, I'd like to ask you, is there anything that we haven't touched base with in the story that you, or anything that you'd like to communicate to people that is that we just didn't cover, or like any last message or final words?
Yeah, I think I know there's a lot of turmoil in the world right now. I know that there's a lot on edge, but I think we all need to trust ourselves and believe in one another again, and that a new world is possible, and healing is here. You know, it's all available to us. The seeds are here, you know, everything that we need to heal ourselves is all available. So we need to utilize it and just come together. And it's okay if we feel heavy emotions, if we are, you know, there's a lot of trauma from our past. And so it's okay if you need to take time to slow down, relax, but it's so important to just take care of yourself in these times, let go of what needs to be let go of, and do what you can to move forward for a better future for all of us. You know, don't get caught up in the drama of the media today, because it's all meant to take you out of your center. It's all meant to put you into fear. So do what you can in your world to better yourself and to be there for other people. I think that's the most important thing I could say right now.
Oh, thank you very much for that message.
That
hit me hard too. Like, I know that stuff logically, but to hear it emotionally from another person is always, it never gets boring and old. So
right. I know.
Yeah. Before we go though, as well, just to repeat to people, your books are available on Amazon. What were the titles again? The Starseed? I remember.
Yep, Diary of a Starseed. So there's part one and part two, or you can go to starseedstory.com. And then also on YouTube, Brittny Love, and that's Brittny.
Cool. I'll definitely be buying your books in the future and definitely checking out your YouTube channel as soon as subscribe to you as soon as I get off this, for sure. So thank you very much, Brittny, for being with us. Thank you very much, audience, for watching this and taking your time out of your busy day to watch this Holistic Health Harry and Dark Nice Rose Talk Show with Brittny Love. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, mate. I've stopped recording. Oh no, I haven't.
Okay, cool.
No.
That was fun.
I have to cut that edit. I have to cut that stop recording bit out because I'm still recording.